Hello, thanks for being in a new video. This time we have first impressions of Nothing Phone 3a and Nothing Phone 3i Pro, which we had a small opportunity to test them at Mobile World Congress in Barcelona. You have to start. It's curious because although these devices are part of the mid-range, actually have very interesting dies that make them positioned in the premium mid-range significantly and even with a price that is not exorbitantly high. In fact, these devices are already on pre-sale in Mexico, so I leave links in the description in case you want to go to set aside your cell phone. But let's get to know them little by little, starting with the design, since in this case we will find two variants, as I said, the base model and the Pro model, and they are very easily distinguished through the design. Since on the back cover, the Nothing Phone 3a will offer a camera system in vertical format and a small bar. That reminds a little bit of what Google does with the Pixel series and also what Samsung did at the time with Galaxy S10. And in fact, it is a design that very few manufacturers use today, so it gives it a nice touch of originality. But what gives it more originality without a doubt is what we already know of the glyph interface. In addition, I find it very curious that in this base model, Nothing has left a little of what normally came handling, because in addition to the edition in black and white color, now they have launched a blue edition that looks spectacular. I loved it. It is the edition that I would use if I bought this device. In all cases, it comes with some red highlights to give a distinctive element to the whole device. And the Pro model, you're gonna notice that it comes with a very different camera system. Now they are betting on a round module, but again, thanks to the transparencies, it looks perfectly accommodating. The design of these lenses, including the periscope that has this device, which naturally uses much more space in the device. So it is a circular module that protrudes and again gives a touch of originality due to the transparencies that traditionally handles this brand, in addition to the glyph interface that is already a distinctive. Only that in this Pro model we will not find the blue color, but simply light edition or dark edition, which is what was already previously handled, the brand. Let me know in the comments if you would like Nothing to risk a little more by launching other color variants like the blue color edition of the base model. In both cases we see the IP64 level of resistance against water and dust, which is not too much, so dust they resist very well, but water they still can't be submerged too deep. However, the brand has reported that these devices have even passed a test of being submerged to 25 centimeters during 20 minutes. So if you accidentally drop it in a bucket or something that's not too deep, I think it's going to survive just fine. Well, the frames are going to have a traditional straight finish, again with what Nothing has been handling previously, as are the buttons. But speaking of the buttons, there's a surprise because there's a new button, and in this case it's not dedicated to the camera, because I think we all pretty much agree that that camera button is not a button for the camera. This is not so useful. But in this case, this button will be used to access the essential space, which will be a kind of compilation of your ideas. Screenshots and voice recordings and everything will be organized with artificial intelligence. So imagine that you are browsing social networks and suddenly you see something you like that you want to save as part of your ideas or something like that, instead of just taking a screenshot of it, which is then completely disorganized in, if you have your gallery, you press this essential space button and automatically this capture will be saved in this space, and later the artificial intelligence can make an analysis of what it is about in order to organize it. In fact, later they will introduce another section called Collections, but this is not yet available. However, it is expected to be an important improvement also to organize all your screenshots. This button also allows you to quickly save a voice memo, so you can press and hold the button and dictate what you want. In this case, it would be especially useful when you have to organize something. So you can say, add to the calendar this event, or I need to do a series of steps and tasks. And automatically the artificial intelligence will generate a list so you can mark what you already did and what you didn't do. So let's say it's an interesting bet to try to organize some things with artificial intelligence. And for that, this button is present in both the base model and the Plus model. The screen will be exactly the same for both models. It is a 6.77-inch AMOLED panel, so from the front, let's say they look very similar. It is not as easy to notice the differences as if we saw it on the back cover. This panel is going to offer us 120Hz in its refresh rate, a maximum peak brightness of 3000 nits. This when you see HDR content, and here it is also important to note that if it gives you a high-end experience, because the pictures you capture with these devices are compatible with XDR. So when you are viewing the photo on the screen of your cell phone, some areas you will notice that shine with greater intensity to give more realism to the images. It is an experience that you can enjoy a lot. The highest peak brightness without HDR content will be 1300 nits, which is very high. So it is a screen that looks very good. Although it seems to me that with respect to the last generation, bezels have increased slightly in thickness, then it does not look so thin. But I think they are still symmetrical, and therefore it seems to me that they have a good aesthetic in general terms. In this case, if we will find stereo sound, and specifically talking about the cameras, will be where we will see the major differences between one model and the other. Let's start with the front camera, because in the base model we will find a 32 megapixel sensor, which is good enough. While in the Pro model, it goes up to 50 megapixels, which I think there will be a significant jump in image quality. But the rear camera is where we will see the biggest differences. For starters, the main camera of both models is 50 megapixels, in both cases with aperture f1.88, with autofocus and optical stabilization. However, in the Pro model, we are also going to find an even better focus thanks to the fact that it uses dual pixel technology. So it is a small difference in this main sensor. And then in the ultra-wide camera, we will find 8 megapixels for both devices. And the main difference will be in the telephoto camera. As in the standard model, we will find optical zoom 2x, so it is not so high. Although the good news is that they have put a sensor. 50 megapixels, then in maximum zoom we will find 30x, which obviously will not be seen in spectacular detail. But considering that it is a mid-range device, it's very good to find this telephoto camera. Also because it has an aperture f2.00, then this will allow a very good entry of light so that even at night you can have photographs of sufficiently good quality by applying zoom. But in the Pro model, we find a periscope camera with a much greater capacity in terms of long-range zoom. In this case, we are talking about optical zoom 3x and also integrate a high-resolution sensor. In this case, 50 megapixels. The lens has aperture f2.55, and applying a crop on the sensor can reach up to 6x zoom, then maintains a practically optical quality in 6x. While the base model maintains optical quality, in which anyway is a very good thing, considering the price, but the maximum zoom that reaches the Pro model is 60x, which from my point of view is very good, always considering the price range in which it wants to compete, which I will tell you in a moment. For video recording, we will find 4K at 30 frames per second. In this sense, it is not so close to a flagship, but it competes perfectly well. Although, unfortunately, it seems that if you start the recording with the main camera, it will not switch to the periscope camera, and the ultra-wide camera does not have these capabilities to record in 4K, so I think the video experience specifically is not yet as advanced as we do see in photography. By the way, the camera interface has also been revamped to give it a more advanced and more sophisticated aesthetic touch, although always keeping a bit this trend of minimalism that nothing manages. In this case, you will also notice that they now integrate their own gallery application so as not to depend 100% on Google Photos. I love it, but at the same time you will notice that it stays connected to the Google Photos editor, so it is a kind of hybrid application. In both cases we will find a battery with a capacity of 5000 mAh, supporting 50 watts charging via cable, although the charger is highly likely not included in the box. The processor is exactly the same in both models. We are talking about the Snapdragon 7S Gen 3. A processor that has been manufactured by TSMC in a... I think that in the Pro model I would have liked to see something slightly more advanced, because when moving up in price I do not like that it retains the same processor as the base model. But perhaps for issues of optimization of all components was better to bet on this nothing strategy. However, let me know your opinion in the comments. We will find versions of 8 or 12 gigabytes of RAM and 128 or 256 gigabytes of storage. So unlike other manufacturers who are betting on versions of 256 or even 512 gigabytes, Nothing seems to be betting not so much on storage, but betting on very good camera features. Remember that in the mid-range, manufacturers generally try to look for something in which they want to stand out. So some stand out a lot in storage, but may neglect other features such as the camera. While Nothing seems that in this generation it will stand out a lot in camera, but could become a little less attractive in storage, This device comes with Android 15 and on it running all the software customized by Nothing. But here, the interesting thing is that they have promised 6 years of software updates to a device at this price point. That's pretty cool because they are currently matching Samsung's offerings in this price range as well, which I think is a good thing. Wonderful and very well done for noting. The announced price for the global market of the base model is $379, this without taxes included. The price of the Pro model without taxes included globally is $459. Let me know what you think in the comments. For now, it has been just a first look and first impressions, but we hope to have it soon for unboxing and full review, and even comparisons if you request it. For now, we have reached the end of this video. If you liked it, you can let us know, and we'll see you next time.